Hey y'all, it's Chad with Old South Forge. Another little short video. In the last video I did, some of the comments, cause I asked y'all to tell me something you'd like to see or something you'd like for me to touch on, and somebody mentioned something about the coal forge and how it works. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna. It's not a very long video, but I'm just gonna kind of show you the coal forge, how simple it is, and how I operate or what I operate with. So check it out. Let me know what you think. This is the forge right here. My outside. That's one of three. I got three little forges, but this one here is just it's nothing special. It's nothing bought. It's nothing factory. I made this just out of some old scrap steel. Just welded me up a box with a hole cut in the bottom of it, and you can see the actual bowl or pit for the fire for the coal. It don't have to be some big, huge tractor trailer drum or big, deep pot. You just need something just shallow enough to hold some coal in place. And this coal here, and some of this is fresh or green coal, and some of it is burnt. It kind of coked up a little bit because it's from a couple of days ago. It didn't all burn up. And we got a pile of coal right over there. That's a coal pile that I've got, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, and it don't even seem to be moving any. So that's bituminous coal. Now, depending on where y'all are at, in the northern part of the United States, up in the northern states, coal's a lot easier to get. And down here in Georgia, where I'm at, it's almost impossible to get. It used to be everywhere, like that big pile of lump coal I got laying out there, but down here it's hard to get. I actually got that from an old rug mill down here that had went out of business. They were demoing the building, and the owners that had bought the new owner that bought the property, give me permission to go in and get the coal out of that silo. It's bituminous coal. That's really what you want. As far as I know, that's about the best for the for the forging process. But anyway, I'll show y'all how I light it. So we get the old coal forge going. Just some old newspaper. Get it going here. My trusty Bic lighter. Gonna let it get burning a little bit. And put a little air to it, makes a difference. And probably need to use a shovel for that, but just raking some coal in here on it. Give it a little air. Don't have to give it a whole lot. It don't take much to get it going. You're going to get burned every now and again, but kind of pack it down a little bit tight. It's going to make a whole lot of smoke just for a little bit till that gets burning good. I'll try to stand out of the smoke and not just intentionally stand there and breathe no more of that mess than I have to. But you can see it's burning off now as it burns the impurities and the old dirty stuff off of the coal. It'll start cleaning up a little bit. And that fire is hot, and it's going to get hotter. But just putting a little bit of air into it, it's amazing. And I always let it burn up or burn off just a little bit, like I say, all that nasty black stuff on it. Because if you put metal in there now, it's gonna it coats it in that black soot, and it's kind of hard to see your colors on the steel if it's hot or not. But see, the more it burns, the cleaner it gets. Okay, so there it is, and that'll burn for, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 hours before it actually goes out with no air to it. If it's good and hot before you, when you walk off and leave it, it'll stay burning. This is my air supply to the coal, and I've just got an old dryer, just a modern day dryer vent, and it was silver. I just spray painted it black so it didn't stick out like a sore thumb. It's got it taped off here to the blower, the mouth of the blower. Mason, can you show under the forge right here? Just a old piece of pipe I found at the scrapyard, piped up here. Just got it welded, a little T welded. And look at my plug. It's just a beanie weenie can to catch the ash. You don't need anything fancy at all. And there's holes. Look here, this got a big hole right here I can stick my thumb through. And that's okay because it don't have to be airtight. That fire don't require an enormous amount of air. You can see the harder I turn it, it's getting hot as a acetylene torch right down there at the source. And it's got holes all in it. You just need if you get an air to it, then you got enough air. So these old blowers, and I've collected a few of them over the last few years, but you can usually find these on the Facebook Marketplace. You can find them at flea markets, old barn finds. Sometimes you can pick them up for $70, $80, $200, $300. Just depends, excuse me, on who's got it and what they think it's worth if they're selling it. So my anvils, this old anvil here is a 300, and I think it's like 310 is what it weighs. I have no idea what make it is. It don't have a maker's mark. Don't have any identifying numbers at all on it. But a good friend of mine loaned me that anvil. It belonged to his great grandfather. That means a lot. And I use this one for bigger stuff, I guess. Now right here behind Mason, this little hay budding anvil, I use this one most of all. Big knives, little knives, whatever I'm using, mostly. And you can see I got, or whatever I'm working on, what I meant to say, I use this anvil. My guillotine that I made, it's just quite simple. Just two pieces of old steel, old spring steel with the screw through it. Make a little fork, just put that through it. It's nothing, it's nothing fancy. This one's stationary, the top one moves. So it'll fit in the hardy hole of your anvil, and you got it. And I can use this cutter, and I just welded a tang on the end of I think that was a wood splitter, an old splitting maul. Wedge, that's what I'm trying to say, a wedge. Hammers, I use this old ball peen hammer here. I think it's a 3-pound hammer. Big knives, little knives, whatever. That's what she's about haggard, about had it. I might need to get a new handle in it. But this hammer, and mostly this little hammer. I don't know, 16 ounce maybe. Little ball peen hammer. When I get my blades beat down to almost the finish. I call this my framing hammer, and this is my trim hammer. It's kind of like building a house. You use your big heavy tools to get it framed up, and as you get down to the trim work, your tools get smaller. So just two basic ball peen hammers. I do have a cross peen hammer, but I hardly ever use it. Hardly all. Brushes, tongs. I got a pile of tongs, just old tongs, and again, I found these at flea markets and people selling them on Facebook or wherever. Every now and again, I'll use this one pair right here, and this pair are the two I use the most. So, if you got a forge, if you got something to contain a fire and just get fire or get air under it, you got a forge. You got yourself a forge. You don't need anything fancy at all. Hammers, I got two hammers. I got a bunch of hammers, but I used two simple old hammers. If you don't have an anvil, a real anvil per se, any kind of block of steel is going to work for you. While I'm thinking about hammers, one of y'all asked me about my hammering technique. I don't know that I really got a technique, but one thing I will tell y'all, and it seems to be for beginners anyway, we'll just use this guillotine here and just demonstrate on that. Let's just say that this is a piece of steel that we're forging into a blade. Be sure that when your hammer comes down and it makes contact with the steel, keep your hammer flat. Can you get down here and show me what I'm trying to say? Make sure it's contacting the steel flat and not on the edge like this. Now a lot of people will do that, and it's easy to do until you get your technique down. But you know, if you're hitting your steel with the edge of that hammer, you're gonna have dents and holes all in it, thin spots in it, and your steel's just not gonna forge as smooth and uniform as you want it. So keep that hammer. Well, now when I start, if I was starting this edge, this thick edge now, I would come down in an angle, a little bit of an angle to get it down. But you know, as you work it, you got to keep that hammer straight, and don't be hitting it with the edge of the hammer, because it's just gonna make a mess. You can fix it, but if you know, if you don't have to fix it, don't do it in the first place. That's pretty much it. This is pretty much my shop. I do have an inside forge. I'll take y'all in here and show you. Got a couple more anvils. Old Peter Wright, 150 pound. I think this is an Arm & Hammer here. Bronze mountain cannon over there that we get out and shoot from time to time. That's something I made a few years back. This is my inside forge. I've got the lights, got overhead lights on right now, but usually I got one little dim light bulb back here in the back, because this is where I do my tempering, quenching. Got just simple little tray for quenching, no big tanks. This is just, I don't know, you probably can't see it, but I'll move it. And that was a piece of 2-inch square tubing. I just took an angle grinder and cut one of the walls out, welded some ends on it so it would hold oil, just made a trough out of it. It's 100% vegetable oil. Wesson oil is what I use. I don't use any burnt motor oil, anything with petroleum in it, all that junk. You say more tongs. One reason why I have so many tongs, hammers, more tongs back there on the back wall. There's extra blowers back there, a couple of. It's just because I like them. I like old machines. I like old anvils, and I like old guns. So if I ever get a chance to buy something like that at a good price, I'll pick them up. It's like this old lathe back here, and it's a mess. But that's a 1926 South Bend lathe that I actually cut this bronze cannon on over here out of a solid billet. But we're not talking about cannons. I know we're talking about forging. So let's go back out, Mason. Another little outside forge over here that we got the jet fan sitting in. Like it's been so crapping hot down here lately. It's just hard to work without any air moving. But this is another little forge. This round disc, let me move this and show y'all. Let's set this out of the way. This round disc here is, I don't know actually what it's called, but it come out from under an old bush hog. You know, this is the disc that the blades actually mount to. And the holes are here where the blades mounted, or the bearings for the blades. And I just welded them up, put me a little hole, and just piped air to it. And it works fine. You can make a forge, especially an old cold forge, out of about anything. As long as you got a blower. You don't have to have a blower. You can use a vacuum cleaner. I've seen people use the exhaust end of a vacuum cleaner to, you know, just flip the switch on, blow enough air to it. But that's really not. It's really not that controlled. It's either on or it's off. If you can find you one of these old hand crank blowers, it's really good. It's good control. You know, you put the air to it when you want it, stop it when you want it. Unless you're using a propane forge, then you don't need any of this. You just need your forge, an anvil, and a hammer, and a piece of stock to work with. So, anyway, with all that being said, I hope that maybe this video helped y'all out a little bit. If you was wondering about coal, that's just my preference for doing it. It's just the old way. It's the old school. It's the craft. It's the art. You know, I really enjoy working with. So anyway, y'all let me know if this video was helpful to you at all, if you enjoyed it at all, and let me know something else you might want to see. And until the next time, we'll see you on the next one. Y'all have a good one.